Good afternoon and welcome to another EEAP and GOT Safety webinar. I am Rick Roman.
My name is Michael Crowley.
Today we have some good information for you.
Oh,
We
yeah.
are going to be talking about, and let me bring the presentation up here if I could.
Well, the great 300 logs, Rick, right? And this new digital way to do it. Boy, OSHA's really thinking of new ways to get our information out there, aren't they, Rick?
All right, so you should be able to see the presentation now. Yes, we are talking about the electronic reporting of the OSHA 300 logs.
Yep.
So let's, before we get into that, Michael, if we would tell the folks here about the webinar trivia giveaway.
We do love giving stuff away. Let me just tell you, we love giving stuff away. So at the end of this, we have a question we're going to ask. The question will be based on basic information we give you. I'll give you a hint. It's regarding a date. Can I give a hint, Rick?
All right.
All right, we'll give a hint anyways. So here it's regarding a date, but we're going to give a $200 gift card away. We're going to send you a couple $100 in American Express cards that you can use for Christmas or whatnot. It'll be good for you.
Yep, we've been doing the smokers for some time. Decided to change it up and thought this might be exciting with the holidays coming up.
Right.
You can pick what you want to do.
That's for sure. We love it.
All right. So some of you may recall we did a webinar back in May. Or you may have seen this release that came out from OSHA regarding from the Fed side, the mandate that everyone had to start reporting their OSHA 300 logs online.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you notice here as we go, there were 7 states at that time that still were
holding out.
They were holding out, and they hadn't adopted the program.
God bless them for holding out, Rick. You love a little rebellion in everybody's life.
So they held out, and the problem is that the feds don't have jurisdiction in California, right?
Right. So they couldn't implement it. They couldn't force it. They're recommending.
They were recommending basicly, and
but it was going to be inevitable, right?
We knew it was going to happen.
It's going to be inevitable.
And so now here we are today, and 3 of the states have went ahead and fallen in line. You got California, Minnesota, and Utah. You can see we still have 4 holdout states left.
We do have, good old South Carolina. They've got great barbecue out there. God bless them. And they're holding out on the feds. Come on, you got to give it to these guys.
Eventually, though, they're going to have to come into compliance as
Rick, I am shocked about Washington. I wouldn't imagine Washington was a holdout for this kind of a thing. You know those guys out in Washington. I'd have thought they'd have fallen in suit so fast your head would spin.
You would have thought so, but they've been a little bit reluctant, and eventually I'm sure they'll come around. But because we have such a vast number of clients that are in California,
right.
We should do this webinar just to make sure that you guys all get the word out. OSHA is not very good about getting the word out.
No, that's why they need us, Rick. They're not very good at getting the word out. In fact, they're good at not getting the word out so they can cite us later. Can I get an amen, John?
That's for sure. That's for sure. So they're going to expect you to be in compliance. And anyway, so what we're talking about here is the reporting of the OSHA 300 logs. It's specifically the 300A log.
Terrible.
But there's actually 3 components to your 300 logs. What we're looking at here is the 301 form. That's what starts it out, Mike. It's each individual incident.
Right, and so the 300 log form is that form that you fill for the individual incidents that you've got. Now, you should have been doing this already. Yes. So this webinar is not about filling out the 300 log, the 301 form, because you already should know how to do that. I have another webinar we posted a while ago that you can look up in our into the past so you can see that.
So you fill out one of these for every incident, and it's going to have a lot of obviously personal information to the individual that was either sick or got injured, and some of that information from this form would get transferred to
the next one,
300 log.
The 300 log.
Now that is basically a running tally. Each incident that you do, you have to fill out that information there and fill it across.
Right.
Once the sheet is full, you tabulate it down to the bottom, start a new sheet.
Bippity boppity boop.
And there you go. Now here's the magic sheet. This is the 300A.
The 300A.
At the end of the year, you get all of your 300 forms. You tally all the final numbers. That way we get a total number of days missed off of work, total amount of injuries and the different things there. And that's the one that you post on your wall.
You post on your wall in the beginning of the year. I'm always bad with the dates, I'll be honest with you.
It's February through the end of
April. Right.
So 3 months.
My birthday, April 30th, Rick.
That's right.
That may be the question. It may not be, though. You don't know.
Anyway, so you have to post that.
Yes.
Now that you have to take this data and you're going to have to report this electronically, Are we still going to have to post this on the wall?
Rick, you're going to absolutely have to post this on the wall still. So this is not about getting away from that. You're still filling out the paperwork in-house. You're going to do your 300 one, 300 log, and then you're going to make the abbreviated one that you got here, the 300A, and then you'll post that in your shop between the dates of February 1st and April 30th, which is
your birthday
and your wife's birthday. Can I get a
Yeah.
shout out for Rick's wife?
Yes.
Rick has been married for how many years, Rick?
31 years.
Rick has been married 32 years, and he has 8 children from one woman. I got to tell you, Rick, it really is a feat. We all long. What marriage advice do you have for us, Rick?
Well, we'll have to save that for another webinar.
All right, he's getting back to the point here.
Get to the point here. So anyway, you're going to have to fill this stuff electronically
Yes.
now going forward, right? So who does this pertain to? So the important thing is to know, well, do you fall in the category of the people that have to report? Well, the good news is if you only have up to 19 employees, Michael,
you don't have to electronically report.
You don't have to do the reporting. So if you've only got 19 or less employees, you're off the hook. All right?
No matter what the industry, is that correct, Rick?
Right.
No matter what the industry, under 19 or less employees,
you don't have to fill it
you're
out.
done.
So if you have 250 employees or more,
yes.
If you're currently, based on your industry, if you're currently doing the 300 logs, you're going to have to submit that report. Now, you'll see there's a link here that you can go to right underneath there that will tell you the businesses that are exempt.
Yes.
So if you're on that list, then you are exempt. If your business is not on that list and you have 250 or more, you must report,
now,
unless you've been mandated by OSHA or the Bureau of Labor and Statistics to turn it in.
Right. So let me make sure you're clear. There's multiple different criteria. We're going to go through 2 criteria. And if you meet one of the 2, then you have to report this electronically. The first criteria, if you are more than 250 or more employees, then you have to submit this electronically, unless in this link that Rick is providing you, it says you do not. Your industry is labeled that you do not. Rick, how do they find the link? Obviously, they're copying it from the screen.
Yes, so you're going to want to copy that. If you want, we'll get the replay out to you later.
Yes.
There will be a replay, so you'll be able to get this information later. But if you go to that link, it'll show you, and you can even see part of the link name says exemptable. So you will know that that's showing you the people that are exempt.
Right.
Unless you've been mandated by OSHA or Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which means you're probably maiming too many employees.
You're probably maiming too many employees, and your workers' comp's probably frustrated with you. But let me say, Rick, so that's the first one. And so a lot of you are probably saying, I have a lot less than 250 employees. This probably doesn't apply to me, and hopefully you haven't shut off the webinar by now. Rick, let's get to the second part.
The 20 to 249, that's probably going to be the bulk of you that are out there.
Of
probably
course.
Falling in this category. 20 to 249. Now those dirty little dogs, they did this a little backwards here. Now, when you go to the link that's provided below, instead of finding if you're exempt, you're going to find out if this applies to you.
The first one shows you if you don't have to. The second one shows you if you have to.
You got to wonder if they did that intentionally.
You know, Rick, these guys, they do this to you. I mean, it's like they want to just throw it back and forth just to get a little confusing. You know what I mean?
So the first thing you need to do is find out what your NAICS code is and go to one of those links. You'll look for your industry, you'll see your code, and you'll see whether or not you fall into the wheelhouse that has to report.
Yes.
So the next thing we have here, so here is a screenshot of that first link for the partially exempt industries. Obviously, everybody is not showing here. The list is quite extensive, so you'll have to go onto the OSHA website there and look at that and see if your industry is on there.
So if you're over 250 or more employees, you have to submit it unless you're on this link here.
Yes.
And like Rick said, it's just too long of a website for us to put up. But I'll read you a couple here. And we've got to wear glasses. Rick and I find we're getting older by the day. I look like a young Santa Claus with these dang things on. Anyways, one of the thing is a clothing store. They would be exempt. They do not have to comply if they had 250 employees or more. So even though they have high, they wouldn't have to comply. But as you're looking on the screen, you can see some legal services, a florist, those kind of things don't have to apply.
They look like lower
risk
type.
Yeah, I would agree with you, lower risk. But you want to check that link to verify if you're up above the 250.
Correct. Now, if you go to the second link that I provided,
number 2,
which is for if you are qualified
correct,
to report, you will see here.
And
now this isn't the actual page link, but I copied the information that was on there so I could get more of them on there. But you'll see the list there, and you can see the types of industries that are on here.
And what I love about this is if you have 20 employees or up to 249, this would be the list that tells you you do. The first one was do not. This one is you do.
Exactly.
So here's one that we'll just point out. Rick, give us an example of one.
So it's a little bit tricky because the NAICS code is actually 6 digits long, and you can see that some of these are only 2 to 4 here. So it's really the prefix. So if your code starts with this prefix, then it's going to apply to you. So for instance, the very last one here, you see code 5617.
Yes, 5617.
To buildings and dwellings. Well, let's take a look here. We have a website for you. You'll want to take a look at this link too, because this is where you can find out exactly what your NAICS code for your industry. So up in the upper left corner of this page, you'll see there's a search bar, and I've already typed in there landscaping. So if you fill out the what your industry is and then click on that, and then when I click on it, it takes me to this page, and I can see that landscaping has the code of, Michael?
Yes, I can see. I've got to have my glasses on. 561730. So, Rick, you're saying
same prefix that we saw.
It's got the first step.
So you're technically considered services to buildings and dwellings.
Welcome, landscapers, to the new era of digitally reporting to OSHA on an annual basis.
So you're going to want you have to do a little digging, find out exactly what your code is, and then look on that list and see if you're on there. And if you are, you have to report.
Or you can just give Rick a call. He loves phone calls. Just call us in the office and we'll tell you if you have to report, if you have any questions. But if you're in construction, if you're doing any sort of manufacturing, I'm telling you, you're going to be on this list. When you really think about all the people this is, you're going to be on this list. One of the things that I look at is this will be the first time that OSHA is able to collect this digital information and to be able to check on businesses and see who's having the accidents and who's not having the accidents to gear their inspections. I really think that this is going to change the way they view people and they view businesses in this. So it's just more important now than ever to make sure your training is getting done, that you're doing the documentation, it's getting updated, that you're allowing somebody, if you're not doing it yourself, you're allowing us to be able to take care of that in the training. It's just more. And
you're absolutely right, because up until now, other than if you had an accident or a random inspection, really the only thing OSHA had to look at was your XMOD.
Correct.
So if you had a high, you could have a lot of incidents and still not, because the XMOD isn't triggered by the amount of incidents, it's the amount of dollars.
He's right.
So if you're having a lot of small incidents, you may not trigger the XMOD, but now they might see you and it might warrant a visit, another reason for them to come out and be friends.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you, Rick. All right. When do we have to do any of this, Rick?
So here's the deadlines. The most important one you need to remember right now is December 31st. So if you remember when they mandated originally that you had to file by July 1st this year, that was with last year's numbers, your 2017 numbers. Well, they still want those numbers. So if you filed them when they originally said July, you're good to go. But if you didn't do it yet, you have till December 31st to get those numbers for 2017 into the system.
So by 2017, at the end of this year, you need to be able to submitting 2017s by January 1st, before January 1st.
Before January 1st, right.
Yes.
And then next year, and then going forward, so your 2018 numbers, which obviously you will compile in January once the year is done, you will have till March 2nd to submit those numbers. Now, in theory, they're already going to be on your wall at the beginning of February, so you should already have those numbers. You're going to need to submit that then, and so every year going
March
forward.
the 2nd, you have to submit your 2018 numbers. So if the question, right? So so March the 2nd, you've got to. So there it is.
All right.
All right. So there you go. Interesting, isn't it? It's all exciting to be able to have Big Brother asking more and more and more of us, isn't it?
All right. So now this is the website. Again, we've provided the link. This is the website where you're going to go to submit the information. Now, there's a little bit of prep work that has to be done. You have to create an account.
Yes.
Now, if you still have your little panel up in your screen of the webinar on the right side, you'll see that there is a PDF link there where you're going to be able to download. It's a PDF that gives you all the instructions on how to submit this information, create your account. If you somehow reduce that, there's a little orange arrow in the top right corner of your screen. If you hit that arrow, the panel will come back up. You'll see the PDF near the bottom of the panel. Click on that, and you will now see the PDF. So you can download that later, but to get back to the webinar, if you hit the little flower icon in your toolbar, probably at the bottom of your screen, that'll get you back to the webinar. You can maximize your screen, and you'll be back with us. Then don't forget to download that PDF after the presentation.
Because most people cannot get enough two bald guys sitting in front of their camera for 30 or 40 minutes trying to explain to them how not to get pinched by the wonderful people at OSHA. And we do love them.
Yes. So that's basically the information that we have for you, is that this just came out. We know they're not doing a good job of getting the information.
They're not.
We want to make sure all of you know, and that we've given you all of the tools of where to get the information you need. You can call us. We can help you through some of this, but you're going to have to get this done. Your key date is December 31st. For last year.
Right, December 31st, and then March 2nd for the ones that are in 2018 that you can submit. Let me say, this is really important stuff that you start doing this, because if they don't get your digital record, the question is that going to be a reason for a visit too? And so I'm really interested to see how this gets put out in play. Rick, in the next 6 to 8 months, I think we should do another webinar on what we're seeing in the system. Since we track everybody in the OSHA system across the United States and in California, we're going to be able to see how we think this is going to be affecting the OSHA citations and how people are getting visited. That's really, I really think this is going to be big for OSHA, and this is a tool in their tool belt that is undeniably one of the best ways to pinpoint businesses that are maiming and hurting their employees. And I know none of this happens on purpose. We all want our people to go home safe, but the reality of it is sometimes we do have accidents, and sometimes we have employees that just make not the greatest decisions. You know what I'm saying?
And hopefully the good news is, if you're already doing your 300 logs and keeping track of, this really should be data that you should already have. You're already required to be doing this. But for those of you who may be a little behind, maybe missing some stuff, your workers' comp should be able to help you get the loss runs to get the information you need so that you can get this stuff put together and have it.
And I think this system really goes hand in hand with what we're doing, Rick, with the GOT safety system, with making sure that mobile app and getting that set up so your training records, everything is digital. OSHA's going digital. You file your appeals online now. They want your 300 logs all put on. There's so much they're going digital. And to be able to have training records that we can send, this is just the groundwork of having a smart safety program. So if you need that free demo to be able to see our GOT safety system, just give us a call. We've got a team of wonderful people in our IT department that can show you a demo, just 20 minutes long, and show you how that works.
All right, Mike.
Rick, is it time?
Time for the trivia question.
Everybody loves a good trivia question, everybody. I hope we have not gone too fast through this. The important part is to know the dates, how to get there, and I know that you guys, and it'll all be self-explanatory. We're just trying to give you the links and the important stuff. So the question,
all right, for $200 gift card,
$200 gift card.
You must call our 800 number that we're going to post for you with the answer. We do not take the answer via the chat on the webinar. But here's the question, Michael.
What is the deadline for electronically filing your 2018 300 log? Not 2017's, but 2018's. We've said it multiple times, and it has nothing to do with Rick's birthday or my birthday or whatnot. And so here we go. What is the deadline for electronically filing your 2018 300 log?
So we need someone to call in with the answer to that.
Yes.
And we will.
Do we even have a phone in here, Rick?
Promptly ship you a couple $100 worth of cards.
It shouldn't take very long.
Nope.
You guys are very smart people.
They'll transfer the call here to my cell phone.
Rick, in 32 years of marriage, what is the lesson that you've learned the most out of 30? I know his wife. She is a wonderful woman. Rick, what would you say?
Well, I guess to do what you're told.
That is a trained man right there, people. Let me just
real quick, Michael.
That is a train.
While we're waiting for someone to call in.
While we're waiting for the call, and you can see he wants to change the conversation from his marriage every time. Rick is, if you've ever met his wife, maybe we should have your wife on one day, Rick, as a guest speaker. She would love that. I love Gwen. She's beautiful. All right, so here's the deal. We do free evaluations on your places. So if you need somebody to come out and take a look at what you got going on, you let us know. For anybody that we've invited as a guest that may not use the GOT safety services or the EEAP services, would love to help you. Give us a call, and would love to keep you up to compliance for pennies on the dollar. Bippity boppity boo.
Yes.
All right, John, do we have a winner yet?
Do we have somebody? We got the lines going over there, John.
We've got a bunch of calls, but
Looks like we got a bunch of callers.
they're unavailable because the line.
Listen.
All right, we do get bombarded, Mike, when we get the questions.
Yes,
the
hold
problem
on.
is we only have so many lines.
Yeah, we're fixing it, Rick.
And we are fixing.
And they're not calling us on our cell phone.
But it looks like right now
we got a winner.
Somebody here.
Thank goodness.
Hello, this is Rick and Michael.
Hello, it's Simon Garcia with Bowman Asphalt.
How you doing, Simon? What is
Pretty good.
what is the answer to the question, my friend?
March 2nd.
You are a good
March
man.
2nd.
I love
oh
this
my
man.
Gosh. Excellent.
You're like a brilliant genius. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Hey, did you happen to give your information to the gal who answered the phone before she sent you to me?
I just gave her my first and last name.
All right, John, come here.
Let me do this. I'm going to pass the phone here to our partner here, and he's going to get your information so that we can mail those gift cards to you.
We'd love to mail the gift cards. Now, let me say that if this is an amazing thing to be able to do this for people, we just love it to death. As John's taken that, just know about this 300 log. You don't want to cheat it. You don't want to make sure you're hiding anything from OSHA. You start lying or doing things like that, and problems will create. You want to make sure your 300 log and stuff matches what you got on your workers' comp. So we see a lot of people come in who will say this. They'll basically go, tell me about, let me see your 300 logs. And OSHA will ask for them, and they'll say, let me see your workers' comp, what claims you've had in. And then they don't match, and then I've got citations coming all over the place. So you want to make sure this all matches and everything's on the level, because it's just not worth our time to be able to have things that funny games have been played and whatnot.
All right. As soon as John's done taking that information there, we will get to the questions and answers. I know somebody did ask, there was a question submitted earlier about using temporary employees and who's to keep those records and report that. That would have to be determined in the arrangement that you would, because really either one of you could be keeping track of that, but you got to determine that when you guys make your agreement with each other as to who's going to be the one that's keeping track of that. There will be a replay, so if you have registered, you'll get a link for this replay. And while we wait for John real quick, Michael, I know we've got some things coming up at the beginning of next year that we're going to need to do some webinars on. The indoor heat.
Yes, the indoor heat program will be coming out next year, and this is going to talk about anybody with a facility or people with an indoor room that hits 80 degrees or more. This is going to pop so that we are going to need some sort of indoor heat program. So everybody with documentation that we've written for already, we're going to update that. That'll be an update. There'll be no extra charge for that. We're going to build a safety lesson system for it, and we'll be able to implement that. Hey, John, we're waiting for some questions when you get a chance. All right, bring it on, Johnny boy.
So I've had several questions that fall under the same category. A lot of them are asking if you have multiple locations. So one person asked, does the establishment mean 250 plus employees company-wide or per location? We have more than 250 employees who are spread out throughout the U.S.
Let me stop you, John. So if the question John's asking is basically is this: if I have 250 employees that are spread out over the U.S. but not at one location, do I still comply? I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
You're going to comply. Yeah. If you have 250 employees, not at one location but all over the place, then you would have to.
Because
comply.
it's your company. It's not. They're not.
Right.
They're not interested in the location. They're interested in your company.
Correct. All right, John. The next one.
Okay. And this is a question I asked to Rick earlier.
I already hit that one on the with the temporary employees.
Yep.
Oh, do you?
Yep, I addressed that while we were getting the info.
Cool. And another person asked if you can have a copy of the PowerPoint.
Send an email, and we can send that to you. Yes.
All right. Let's get another one here. If there was no accident, but an employee filed a claim based on 3 years of stress on his knees, how do you put that on the log?
The question is basically if there's an employee that has 3 years of stress on his knees and he put in a claim, how do you put that on the log? Well, that's a good question. What we need to do is specifically answer that one. We're going to need you to call in for that. You're going to put in the loss of work, the time loss, and stuff like that. And if the employee's already gone, that may be an issue, but you've still got to address that on the log at some point and put that in to make sure the claim is there.
Right. If there's a claim being filed, it's going to get on your log.
It is.
Your workers' comp, again, should be able to help you get, determine whether or not that's going on there. And another important point that we didn't mention, but if you say you're a smaller company and you've had no incidents all year, you still need to report. If that report is all zeros, then it's all zeros, but you have to file that. You don't not file because you didn't have any problems.
I agree.
Next, John.
All right. People are sending us their email addresses instead of, we just need to say which email address.
Oh, that's a good point. You're going to send your emails to Rick, R-I-C-K, at eeap.net. That's Edward Applepear.net. Rick at eeap.net. Send your emails there, and he will send you a copy of the presentation, the slides.
And if you have questions, you can send those as well. Ones that we may have to get some more information on.
Yeah.
What
John, any more questions, John?
There's a few more. Let's see. Is a 300 log filled out for each individual establishment, not per company?
Yes, each location must have a 300 log, not the company.
Okay. They're coming in really fast, so I'm trying to keep up.
You're doing good.
Let's see.
It's a little hard, I know, when everything's happening.
So rolling in.
Rolling.
Okay, do you still have to post the 300 logs even if you submit it electronically?
Yes, you do have to submit them and You have to submit them electronically, and you have to post them. So yes, you got to post them.
Because your employees are entitled to see that information, so you do have to post it.
Do you need to post termination claims on the 300 logs?
No.
Okay.
Rick, how many people out there are amazed you have 8 children from one woman?
I got a text from somebody regarding it, but I'm...
While in the webinar?
Yes, while in the webinar.
Really, Rick? My gosh, you guys out there. It is shocking to me. It's one of the things I love most about Rick. He's like the greatest grandfather in the world.
So this last one, do first aid incidents or injuries, ones that are not workers' comp claims, need to be reported on the log?
You know, that's a good question.
That is, and I've heard recently that that's something that might have to start being reported on there, but we'll have to get clarification.
The reason why this
one.
is so vague is because I have heard businesses define first aid to be pretty vague. A guy gets his arm ripped off and they tape it back on and they go, what's first aid here? So it's difficult. Altogether, I would say this to you. You need to put your accidents and your stuff on, your injuries on the 300 log. If there's a paper cut, okay. I don't know if we're going to die and not having a paper cut there. If there's a gouge or something, there may be a need to put that there, but there's no lost work on there. And so it's very vague. And so you need to call us on a case-by-case basis. You have Rick's email. Just call us on the number and ask for Rick and I, and we'll be able to answer that question for you specifically. It's a tough one, but you can see that people's definition of what a first aid is could be crazy. John?
If a workers' comp denies a claim, can we take it off our log?
No. Well, that's a good question. Can you take it off if it's not the workers' comp is denying the claim, then for what reason would be the logical? And I don't know.
And did the guy go to the clinic, in which case there would still be
And for what reason? Maybe the answer to that is I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. I don't think so because.
And some of these as to what needs to go on there and not really are probably questions better suited to check with your workers' comp.
There really is, because the workers' comp, you know what the workers' comp is going to say. Yes, report everything. We know what that they're going to say. But when you start getting us into the weeds like this, it's not that we don't know what we're talking about, but it's kind of like there's too many other variables to the question that I have to ask to get that answer. It's a hard answer to give like that. So give Rick a call. John, what else you got? Anything else?
All right. So then
One more, John.
Let's see, if I already provided the 2017 300-day log to an inspector, do I still need to electronically submit the file?
Yes, that inspector, it doesn't mean anything. You have to fulfill the law that says you have to put the
Yes.
300 log in this spot. And that inspector, it doesn't mean anything. That guy may be switched out, get promoted, get fired. We don't know. I mean, trust me, these guys never give you a letter saying you're all good. It's just a letter that's saying you're all bad.
Look, we're running to the half hour, and
Yes.
I know out of respect for all of your time,
Yes.
we do like to try to keep it around that time frame. If you have additional questions, please send them to my email. We'll get those addressed for you. But I think we'll go ahead and, for right now, we'll go ahead and sign off and answer any other questions that you have. But that way you guys can get back to what else you got going for the day.
We're sending out that $200 gift certificate out there. We appreciate you guys watching. And if you're amazed that Rick has 8 children like I am, give him an email. He'll like that. He'll find that funny. I mean, who has 8 kids? Thank you guys, and we're signing off. See ya.
Thank you.